All right. Good morning, everybody. It is 9:50 a.m., and I am calling this regular meeting of the Winchester School Committee to order. I think, thank you, Mr. Marin. I would like our agenda to come up on the screen. So we're going to start today with public comment, then move on. And we've actually decided to move agenda item number 7, the vote to approve the superintendent's recommendation of the appointment of Dr. Heidi Paisner-Rothman as Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education up as the first order of business under public comment, because Dr. Paisner-Rothman is with us today. Then we'll move on to items 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8 as presented on the agenda. So with that, let's flip over to the slide with our public comment guidelines. Public comment will be for a period of 20 minutes. Any individual wishing to speak before the committee shall identify themselves by name and speak for no longer than 3 minutes. All remarks are addressed through the chair of the meeting. Public comment is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between those who attend and the committee. It's just an opportunity to express opinions on issues of business related to the school committee. If you have a written comment that is longer than 3 minutes, you may present that either during or after the meeting via email for review and consideration, and we will incorporate that public comment into the record of the meeting. So with that, I will actually ask if anyone could raise their digital hand. We will elevate you in order. I'm going to ask our Vice Chair, Ms. Minyarji, to keep time and the list, and we'll look forward to hearing from anyone in the community. All right, so Ms. Minyarji, I see we have 4 people with their hands raised. So I think we'll take Nora Cooney first, and then Stephanie, I'll let you manage the
I'll be the
list.
timekeeper. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Nora, you have 3 minutes, starting now. Has Nora been elevated?
Hi, can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
All right.
I'm going to start your timer now.
Hi, my name is Nora Cooney, and I live at 10 Oneida Road. So I'm about 100 yards from the carriage house, not even. My children walk by it to and from every single day to get to Ambrose Elementary School, as do other kids in the neighborhoods behind Ambrose. I'm sure you on the school committee all are well aware of my views on the carriage house more generally, but I'm here specifically to ask you not to vote or to not to provide a letter of support for the Historical Society's application for Community Preservation Act funds. I sent an email with a bunch of different reasons and all my details for this, and I won't rehash every one of them, but I did want to just step on here to highlight for the larger community a couple of really important points. The first being is that the Ambrose community was certainly not given sufficient notice of this application, this meeting, and the ability to weigh in and provide feedback. We don't know any of the details about how this will impact the Ambrose community. And you guys as a school committee have a responsibility to specifically inform the Ambrose community about it. I'm sure you gotten a couple emails this morning. That's just for me telling my friends, because I found out about this last night, and I am someone who is on town meeting and pretty well informed, and even I was not aware this was going on at this time because it's the summer, we have a lot going on. This is just really inappropriate to do without full details to the Ambrose community and giving the Ambrose community a chance to weigh in. And to that point, this will be detrimental to the Ambrose community for any work to be done during the school year. Any claims by the Historical Society that children would not be impacted or it's in the corner just shows they don't have an understanding of how our children use this property, how the kids walk to school, how they leave school, how they use the community garden, which goes to the larger point that this is just premature. There has not been the work or about to inform the community, to understand the project, and to understand how the Ambrose community uses the land and how kids get to and from school. So any attempt to do this during the school year would be detrimental to the kids, having construction site, the environmental concern with asbestos, making sure the site can stay secure. It's a concern to me, and I know it's a concern to lots of other moms and parents. And to that end, this is just a premature application, and any attempt by the school committee to give a letter of support is basically saying you co-sign the project and you agree with it. And at this point, I don't think that should be the case. They said, the historical people from the historical society who were in favor of it at town meeting, that it would only use private funds. And that is how I think they got a lot of town meeting members to halt the demolition. And the idea was to give them time to raise those funds. If there is any pressing need that needs to get done right away, there have been years that have not, that's been in action, but that should be able to be done with private funds, not with CPA funding. So the idea that we
Nora, I'm sorry, your timer went up. So just last sentence, please.
yes, this is premature and you should not be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora. Electra, you're up. If we could please elevate Electra. Oh, we elevated Sloan.
Can you hear me now?
It's Electra.
Yes.
All
Hi,
right.
Electra.
Hi there.
All right. You have 3 minutes starting now.
Thank you so much. My name's Electra Gavoni. I'm the president of the Historical Society. Thank you for giving me a moment this morning. Since we last spoke, I hope the school committee has received an updated CPA application, hopefully answering a lot of the questions that we talked about from the last meeting. Um, and and a part of what I want to comment on is that right, the Historical Society is celebrating 20 years of stewardship of the Sanborn House, which has included 20 years of restoration. When we took ownership of restoring the Sanborn House, it was boarded up with a leaky roof. I think to all of us that sounds pretty familiar. And in that time, all our restorations were done with the utmost concern of environmental concerns, of safety, of care of the children and the community, and 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 within guidelines that are deemed from the state, from a very picky interior secretary of historical restoration guidelines, and with deep coordination with everyone at the Ambrose School that run and administer that building. And so we're just here to say that we are still these people, we are still this organization, and uh, we are here to say that this would happen in that same way. It wasn't that long ago that we repaired our chimneys and there was no disruption to the community. And so we're here with good faith as a good partner and appreciate your consideration and support for our application. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Electra. Sloan, can we elevate Sloan McCarthy? Please. Are you there?
In progress.
Oh, sorry.
They have to acknowledge it.
Sloan, if you could just click join.
Can you hear me okay?
Hi, yes.
So sorry, don't know what happened. Clearly not the most techie person. I'm Michelle McCarthy.
Michelle, I'm going to give you 3 minutes starting now.
Great. Thanks so much. This is Michelle McCarthy. I know many of you at the meeting of town meeting. I am the former head of the Ambrose PTO, a role that I really loved and did for way too many years. I'm also on the Winchester Historic Commission. And I just wanted to say that I also walked by for I think 10 years the Sanborn House with my children. My children were also participants in the community garden. And I always thought of our relationship when I was PTO president and Ambrose parent with the carriage house and the Sanborn House as kind of like a larger Ambrose campus. And I hope that the school committee members can see that. Some of you have, were not members of the Ambrose community, but it really was like one large campus. We worked really well together, and I hope that that will continue. And in regards to the Community Preservation Act, I'm going to forward you actually their law. And it says the chart below demonstrates what CPA funds may be used for. Number one, historic preservation. Number two, open space, recreation, housing, etc. So I just wanted to say that this is exactly what community preservation should be used for as they outline themselves. It should be used for preservation. And I know that some neighbors are concerned about safety, and we are as well. We want to make sure that this building is safe for the Ambrose community, and so we can continue to work with them. So the Historic Society will continue to work with them. I think they've done a great job. There's never been complaints of anything going on at the Sanborn House that didn't work within the school hours or with the principal, and we will continue to do that. And thank you all for your help. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Can we please elevate Amy?
Can you guys hear me?
Hi, Amy. You have 3 minutes starting now. Your name and your street address.
Amy Beliveau, 19 Wedgemere Avenue. I am also a member of the current Ambrose PTO board, but I want to be clear these comments are made on my personal belief. But I have two follow-ups to comments that were previously made. One, I don't think anybody is refuting that the Historical Society is necessarily capable of doing this renovation. Obviously, the Sanborn House has been preserved. I think the current concern is that this application is not ready. The work is not completely vetted. There are a number of outstanding questions that the Ambrose PTO did send to the school committee regarding the safety and the care and how the renovation work would actually be done if granted the funds. Michelle just mentioned that they maybe wouldn't be doing it during the school year, but maybe they would be. If you're not doing it during the school year, is it only during the 9 weeks of summer vacation? How does that logistically work? Quarry checks for workers. The grass in between Ambrose, the carriage house, and Sanborn House are used for celebration of learning. They're used for outdoor walks. They're used for nature exploration. Will that grass be available to students? It's not saying, nobody, I think, at the moment is saying there is a lack of faith in the ability at the moment. One of the questions is, are you ready to start? And I truly do not believe that anything has been vetted enough to say yes to that question. And it needs better vetting to make sure that the safety of the students and the staff and the community are upheld. And in terms of the WCCP fund specifically, yes, historic assets are a wonderful application of those funds, and nobody is going to refute that that is a use case for WCCP funds. However, Ambrose is a historic building. Lincoln is a historic building. McCall is a historic building. There are so many historic buildings that are also schools that can truly benefit from WCCP funds that will benefit the entire community immediately upon opening. If the carriage house is turned into a event space, which is, I think, the current proposal, that event space is not a community asset. It is an asset for people having events. It is not going to directly be used widely, regularly. The playgrounds at the schools could use an update. Morocco, if the WCCP wants to fund and the Historic Society want to fund preservation of historic assets in town geared at schools, there are so many projects that could use these funds as well. And again, we were promised as town meeting that these funds would be raised privately. Michelle, I believe you specifically said you were going to save the town money in your speech to town meeting. So no one is refuting that WCCP funds should be used for historic preservation. No one is refuting that WCCP funds should be used for schools. But this is not necessarily that use case. We were promised as a town that it was going to be done with private funding. And at the first chance given, we are
you, Amy.
seeking public dollars. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Amy. Can we please elevate Maureen Meister?
Hi, all. Can you hear me now?
Hi, Maureen. I'm going to
Hi,
give you 3 minutes.
Stephanie.
If you could just please your name and your address.
Maureen,
Starting now.
yeah, Maureen Meister, 30, 3 Meadowcroft. A couple of different things have come up, so let me address them. I was not involved at all in the decision to proceed now with the CPA funding, but I understand that I know is leaking in the roof. So, and it would be another year that would have to be delayed. And of course, some of us, I have certainly dealt with a leak, not where I am now, but in years past. When you've got a leak in the roof, you really want to get it as fast as you can. So I think that with the school committees, really as the one that would be signing on to this, that's an obligation in any case. That's under building code. A building's supposed to be secured. So that's something the school committee does have responsibility for. So if you want to figure out how to fund it, please do. But building code, I mean, everybody's been trying to collaborate and get along. And it seems that this is a good use, whatever the future holds, because that's a good purpose to get the funding to secure the building. And again, the Historical Society has been so incredibly cooperative and willing. And you heard Electra. This has really just been the most generous and kindly and I even want to say timid, but cautious group and really wanting to collaborate with everyone. And it feels as if this effort over many, many years. It's not really been a two-way street. And I really think the school committee should consider how you're interacting with the Historical Society. They've been pretty unhappy about the condition of that carriage house too. And now with this effort to get private funding, and I don't really like to get out in front of this, but we're pledging money to do work on the building, but it has to be done over a period of time. You don't just say, give me money, give me money. That's a fundraising effort, and certainly that's there, and it's being worked on. The Historical Society is moving forward. So that's the leak, that's the condition. There's the building code, which you're obliged to deal with. As for CPA money, I did see recently, like in the past week or two, Boston issued its awardees for their CPA money for historic preservation. There's not a single public school building. There's not a single municipal building. It's all preservation-related buildings. And I think that there are a lot of people here who need to familiarize themselves with the purpose of Community Preservation Act money under the category of historic preservation. Mind you, I care a lot about preservation. I want to see work done on Lincoln that's needed, and I want to see work done on McCall and Town Hall. But they're really pretty tight constraints about what that money can fund. Basic
Maureen, your
maintenance,
time
no.
is up. So just one
That's
more
fine.
sentence, please.
No, I've covered it. But I do think building code is, and just getting that building secure, is a priority. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maureen. Anyone else for public comment? Please raise your digital hand. Otherwise, Dr. Chair, it's back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Minyarji. I don't see anyone else raising their digital hand, so I'm going to close public comment and thank all the members of the community for coming and speaking with us today. Really appreciate the sentiments, and we will obviously incorporate all that into the record and into further conversation on the topics raised. Thank you so much. Mr. Marin, if we can flip back to the agenda, I would like to, as I said earlier, move up item agenda number 7, which is our vote to approve the superintendent's recommendation of a new assistant superintendent of elementary education. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Hackett.
Good morning, everybody. It is, where are we right now, Dr. Matthews? Are we at my comments, or are we at the appointment?
Well, we can kind of do a hybrid of both, actually, if that's okay.
Then I'm going to yield my time because I know that you have some things you would like to share regarding the appointment. So
sure. All right. As long as all right. I didn't know if you wanted to introduce Dr. Paisner-Rothman.
I can do that if you'd like to, but I thought that you were pretty.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So good morning. So to Dr. Paisner-Rothman, I was one of the 2 members, I believe, on this call who was part of the the search committee that worked with the candidates that had been presented for this position. We actually had four candidates that the committee interviewed, chose to move two of them forward to a performance task process. So Dr. Paisner-Rothman actually had a pretty significant ask from the hiring committee to come in and do a professional learning session as a sample a couple of weeks ago. Did a really excellent job with that and quickly rose to the top in terms of the committee members as our candidate of choice. I think by way of introduction, I will say that Dr. Paisner-Rothman has a really long history in public education, and particularly in elementary education, which, given the unique nature of this position and the things that we are going to be calling on the individual in this position to do over the coming years, was a tremendous asset in the view of the hiring committee. So she's coming to us most recently having been, and Heidi, please correct me if I'm not getting these details correct, but most recently coming to us as the principal of Wellington Elementary School in Belmont, which, as many of you know from the State of the Town process, was identified as potentially our closest peer community in the Boston area. Prior to that, she served for, and you can help me with the number of years, was it 14 years in the Wayland Public Schools?
Close, 15. You're very
15.
close. Yes.
All right. So 15 years in the Wayland Public Schools, going through a number of different jobs, including leadership in special education, as well as an assistant principal. And so as we move forward into our next era of trying to implement a district-wide knowledge-building curriculum for our elementary students in literacy, looking ahead to what we can do in terms of math curriculum for our elementary students as well as leading our efforts around making sure that we integrate and make part of the DNA of our elementary experience, social emotional curriculum, and all of the instructional leadership and professional development responsibilities. I, as a member of the committee, I believe Dr. Ellen Emma is here as well. She was another member of the hiring committee, are super excited to have Dr. Paisner-Rothman here with us. And barring any other comments from Dr. Hackett, I would be happy to move forward with a motion that I'm going to somewhat atypically make today as chair, just because I was the member of the hiring committee.
I would just want to echo all of those comments. We are, I think, not only excited, but I think we're very fortunate to have someone of Heidi's caliber. She comes to us with a vast experience, as Dr. Matthews just pointed out. This is a unique position. It is a elementary education position, and the timing I don't think could be better for us as we move forward with the implementation of the literacy program. And as many of you know, we are also in discussions around, or preparing to have more formal discussions around math curriculum as well. We've done some work around that, but I think Heidi is just the absolute right fit at the right time. So we're thrilled. I know I can speak for Dr. Ellen Emma if she doesn't want to say a few words, but we cannot get Heidi here soon enough. I think that's a fair statement. As we prepare for the upcoming school year, and I would just say that the pool of applicants for this position was very competitive. And it was, to get down to 4 was not an easy thing. I had the easy part of being able to just meet with the final 2. And so it is, we're very excited to have Heidi. So I appreciate the work of the committee, and I appreciate the work of Dr. Ellen Emma, who really put the process together.
I could just jump in with just a few words while we're doing this, just to say also how fantastic the committee was. We had a great group with parents and educators on it, and it was the contributions of the committee are also what helped us to get to really know Heidi through the process, and the different viewpoints, to learn about her experiences, her expertise, her skills that are just such a nice fit for what we are looking for as a district. So I just want to publicly thank the many members of the committee. As you shared, Dr. Hackett, it was extensive, and people put in a lot of time at a very hectic time of year. And we're really committed to getting to know Heidi and helping Heidi to get to know us through the process. So it was a great process, and I want to give a shout out to everyone because I think through their work we landed on the exactly right candidate for this role.
Thank you, Dr. Elenema. I share that sentiment as well. I think our committee, which if you can help me, Dr. Elenema, with the people who served on it, but we had elementary building leaders, assistant principals, social emotional coaches. We had community members, families who were in the Winchester Public Schools, including one who's a teacher and a coach at an independent school. It was very clear to me. I think I got everybody.
And a secondary educator,
secondary
too.
teacher as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
But I think the clear perspective of the committee was that this was the right candidate for the district at the right time. And also, I think everyone commented on her warmth, her engagement, and I personally was very impressed with her adult learning, knowledge, and understanding. Because the one part of her background I left out was that she actually took 3 years out from school in the classroom to do a PhD at Boston College in curriculum and instruction. And I think, given the tasks ahead of us right now on the elementary side, having that experience is also invaluable. So failing there being any other comments from those of us who sort of been on the committee, I would like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation of a 3-year contract to appoint Dr. Heidi Paisner-Rothman as Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education for the Winchester Public Schools. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Bolognese. Is there any discussion from the committee? Seeing none, we are in. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, I was on mute. I apologize. I want to thank the hiring committee and welcome Heidi. I think you're going to be a great addition to the team, and I appreciate the summer effort to get this going because I know September is just weeks away. So thank you and welcome Heidi.
Thanks, Ms. Minyarji. I see Ms. Bolognese has her hand raised as well.
Oh, I was just going to say as well, I'm so excited to welcome Dr. Paisner. And I really enjoyed reading through your folder of your PD presentations, and some of the letters that you would from the community, and some of the responses that you had made to the community. I felt that they were very warm and engaging, I think, just as Dr. Matthews was saying. And I do appreciate that the many challenges that lie ahead with the implementation of the early literacy curriculum, and also reviewing our math curriculum. And I'm so excited to hear. I do agree that it sounds like you are just the perfect fit for Winchester, the community, and then for Winchester Public Schools at this time. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Ms. Bolognese. I see Mr. Hopcroft has his hand raised as well.
Yeah, I just didn't want my silence to be seen as anything short of enthusiastic support for you, and appreciate the artifacts and the partnership and work we have ahead. So thank you, and I look forward to the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Hopcroft. Mr. Belair, is there anything you'd like to add, or can we move to the vote?
Yeah, I'll just quickly say that really excited that Dr. Paisner-Rothman is joining us. Excited to get to know you better. Been really impressed by your qualifications and the perspectives that you'll bring. So really enthusiastic that you're joining our district.
All right. With that, we are in an online meeting modality, so we need to take a roll call vote. So I will start with Mr. Belair.
Aye.
Mr. Hopcroft?
Aye.
Ms. Bolognese?
Aye.
Ms. Minyarji?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. So congratulations, Dr. Paisner-Rothman. You are now approved by the school committee to come on board, and we will look forward to meeting you in person and giving you a round of applause at our next in-person meeting that you attend. So thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. I really look forward to working with all of you, and I'm very excited. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. With that, I think, Dr. Hackett, we can let Dr. Paisner-Rothman head back to her
You're certainly
day.
welcome to stay. There's some really good stuff on here, but I know that she is also working another job currently. So thank you for making it this morning, Heidi. We look forward to talking to you a little bit.
Thank you for having me, and I'll see you all very soon.
Thanks, Heidi. Take good
Thank you.
care.
Thanks, you too.
All right. So we are now going to move on to if Dr. Hackett, you have any other superintendent and chair remarks?
I'm all set, Dr. Matthews.
All right. So I will just add, as we wrap up public comment and move into the item number 4, which is the consideration of our WCCP applications. I actually envision today that we will continue discussing the carriage house application, as well as the other work that we've undertaken more broadly with the walk and roll application that was partially touching Morocco property, as well as the Lincoln shade structure application, in view of the fact that I believe all of you see that in your packet. We have now, as of yesterday, received a pretty detailed memo from the chair of the WCCP, Ms. Christina Marshall, that gives us guidance on what the WCCP anticipates in terms of the process for care and control entities to actually provide support of applications to the WCCP. As many of you, or at least maybe one or two of you may have seen, I know that one of our members was actually in person at the select board meeting on Monday night. There was pretty substantive discussion at the select board on Monday night regarding the WCCP application process and the care and control letters on behalf of the select board. And as of right now, the select board has actually chosen that they wanted to hold on some further discussion of care and control for, I believe, at least one, if not more, of their projects. So I would sort of take my prerogative to say that there were a lot of materials that came to the committee in the last 24 hours. I don't know the extent to which our committee members have had a chance to really review those and ruminate on them. And I'm also acutely aware of the fact that we have a hard stop at 11 o'clock today, which is in only 38 minutes. So what I did want to highlight is that in your packets, you will find the memo from Ms. Christina Marshall. There should also be a memo from the Ambrose Parent Teacher Organization, which was sent to us in regards to the Ambrose PTO's sort of views on and concerns about the carriage house process. And also, Dr. Hackett, I think we put in the updated application that I received. Thank you, Mr. Swanton. I believe you're on with us today. I know Ms. Gavoni's here as well. The updated, so this is the third version of the WCCP application from the Winchester Historical Society to the WCCP for this project. And I'll just highlight that it does have a change in the overall budget for the project, and also has a quotation from an unnamed builder for conducting the work on the building. So I see us as having to do, as a committee, 3 things. The first is we need to evaluate where the committee is at regarding care and control of the property. I will not presuppose where we're at today, but based on the last meeting, what I heard was that the committee was not at a point where it was willing to completely cede care and control of the property. So the process would be that we would have to go first give it to the town, and then the town would have to engage potentially in an agreement with the Winchester Historical Society regarding this property, or any other entity. But that at this time, it was the committee's perspective that given the proximity to the building, the school committee would like at this time to retain care and control for the moment. So that's sort of discussion point number 1 to solidify for us today. I would say that discussion point number 2 is, do we have sufficient information to provide the level of support that is anticipated in Ms. Marshall's memo from the WCCP? So what I understood from her memo, and forgive me if other members had a different understanding, but what I understood from her memo was that it's they sort of, the process that they've created, and to the point that was made about CPA, I mean, CPA does have a sort of underwriting statute or overriding statute for the community. to follow under Massachusetts law. But I also know that having done a bunch of investigation around CPA for my own vote as a member of town meeting, that each community kind of operationalizes CPA in a different way. And so part of the reason why I'm very grateful for Ms. Marshall's memo is it shows us where the WCCP is at in terms of operationalizing CPA in Winchester. So I think the committee needs to decide today, the school committee needs to decide today whether we are at a level of information, at a level of question answering that gets to the bottom of the sort of questions and answers we would like to see as the care and control entity providing that higher level of support that Ms. Marshall anticipates in her memo for this project. And I think the third thing is, as school committee members, we are obviously beholden to our broader Winchester community. And I would like for us to discuss whether we feel we are at a point where we feel the sort of perspectives of the community are in favor of, or at least questions in the community are answered in a way that we are comfortable with providing that higher level of scrutiny to the WCCP application that Ms. Marshall's memo anticipates. So those are the sort of three questions I would like to discuss. So let's enter officially into item number 4, though I think I did it already, considering WCCP applications. And let's start by discussing where folks are at with the materials in the packet regarding the carriage house application. Mr. Belair.
I can kick us off. I think I want to start by acknowledging that I think we, through a lot of the contentious discussions that we've had over the last few months, I think if other members could make sure that they're muted, that would be helpful with some of the feedback. We are groups and folks on this committee, I think, are sometimes talking past one another. And I think the just overall discussion has become very polarized in a way that's been a little bit counterproductive. I think at a high level, I do support an effort to rebuild the carriage house. I think particularly based on the discussion at town meeting, we have a responsibility to develop that pathway. That being said, I don't think that this proposal as it's currently written is ready for that, and I wouldn't feel comfortable supporting this specific pathway right now. It has been really exciting to follow the Save Our Carriage House work, to hear about all the funds that have been raised privately, the conversations that have been had, the community input and development that is still ongoing. But I think, as kind of outlined by the WCCP's memo to the school committee, this needs to be a ringing endorsement of support for the project. I think there are other projects that the schools have or could develop related to other community spaces, related to other historical assets that are under our control that would rise to a higher level. But I think if the committee is to deny the support and endorsement letter to the WCCP for care, control, and custody, I think we owe it to the Save Our Carriage House activists and folks to, activist isn't the right term, but advocates, to really outline the criteria that we would like to see if they were to come back a year from now. I think I would be much more willing to support this application if there were bank information outlining the funds that have been raised and the pathway to that, if there were more detailed design descriptions. And I know some of the rush timeline that we've been operating under has been imposed in part by some of the discussions that the school committee put forward at town meeting of wanting to see all these things come together in just 12 months, or else we were going to bring forward a demolition article again. So I think that in some ways that's an error on our part by forcing the Save Our Carriage House advocates to move this quickly. But I think there's more information that I would want to see in the coming months before we would use public funds to do this. Though I'm really I've been impressed by the Save Our Carriage House folks so far and all they've gotten accomplished in the last few months. But I don't think this is ready for public funds when I'd like to see more private funds raised and also to see a little bit more detail around what the project would really entail.
Thanks, Mr. Belair. I see Ms. Minyarji has her hand raised as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. This is our third meeting on this topic. We had one during town meeting, and then we've had two others since. And then in addition, there was the discussion on the floor of town meeting. We've said repeatedly that we would not want to see any work done during the school year. And this application calls for work to start immediately in late 2026. School is in session in late 2026. And then it continues to go through and talk about a plan through 27 and 28. Having the carriage house is much closer to Ambrose than the Sanborn house. So when renovation was happening in the Sanborn house, it was kind of a little set off a little bit, but the carriage house is actually closer to Ambrose than it is to the Sanborn house. That parking lot is used by our staff. In addition, even during the summer, that the Ambrose Garden is used and the building is used for summer camps, and Kidsborough is there as well. So the safety concerns for construction are a concern even in the summer, but during the school year, 400 students are entering that building, 50 staff members. And then the work is to start in late 2026. In addition, in this application, on the very last page,
I think Ms. Minyarji, I think the rest of us are still here, but her connection may have frozen.
Are they unionized? Do they have the proper insurance?
Ms.
I mean, we have
Minyarji,
these.
I just want to warn you, we lost you for a little period in there.
Oh, am I back?
You are now back, yes.
Okay.
Right when you said on the very last page.
On the very last page, the very first line says that they will not disclose the builder in which this work is based on. And I found that to be alarming at the very least, because again, this is the building that children are in. Are we following fair labor law practices? Are they unionized? Do they have the proper insurance? I don't know. And so I've expressed my concerns to this committee many times, and I've asked both the Historic Society to engage with the Ambrose community and the neighbors to see how they feel about the project. And now that the community has heard about it, they have the same concerns. And I believe our obligation as a committee, number one, safety of our students, absolutely, above all else. So thank you. I am prepared to take a vote on this whenever the committee is ready.
Thanks, Ms. Minyarji. Mr. Hopcroft?
Yeah, so I mean, I did listen to the public comment and read all of the emails that have come in, and it's clear to me that there are different views on whether or not we should try to preserve the carriage house at all. I think everyone, without exception, agrees that having a safe and productive learning environment for our students is fundamental. But I also feel like, personal feelings aside, town meeting expressed a strong trying to preserve the building. I understand that private funds have been used to secure the building since town meeting, which I think is really important. I frankly think that was a school or town responsibility. Should have been done years ago, given all of the testimony that we've heard in the discussions up to date. But I'm glad that the private funds were raised to do that. And I know that the private group is looking to stabilize the building's decay, which seems like a good thing unless you want to see the building come down. The discussion about public funds at town meeting competing with school priorities, I took to mean operating and capital funds. I do agree with the public comment that was mentioned about WCCP funding being specifically for historic and other uses that don't rise to the level of making it into those other queues. But the question of whether we use WCCP funds is whether this project rises to the level of WCCP funds versus all the other projects that are being put there. is ultimately, I think, a WCCP question and then ultimately a town meeting question, as this would come back to them. What we're considering here, I think, is whether the schools will support or stand in the way of preserving this building. It's up to the Carriage House Group and the Historic Society to navigate, whether WCCP funds are appropriate source for this and to get approval from WCCP and from town meeting and all that kind of stuff. The safety issues, which predominantly, by the way, the safety issues are what I'm hearing the most from folks. Is absolutely must be addressed. There must be accountability and it must be addressed to the satisfaction of the school committee, no matter what we do. If they renovate the building, or I imagine if we tore the whole thing down, there'd be safety concerns too. No matter what happens with the building, we need to address, make sure it's a safe place for our students. Um, you know, the I guess I was looking at my review my notes here. We have to provide a safe place. I will say I've not had sufficient time to read the letter from WCCP. I didn't see it when I was clicking on the links, and so I don't know if it got posted later or if it wasn't linked or if I just missed it. But I would appreciate more time to look at that. And given I guess my colleagues' comments on more time, Ms. Minyarji about the timing of the work vis-a-vis the school, and Mr. Belair about getting deeper into detail. I think more time would be helpful. But if we're not going to support the application moving forward, I think we should agree to postpone the demo of the building. There's a lot of like, oh, the second that they don't do this thing or we don't get it done, we're going to tear the building down. That's what's putting the time pressure on. That's what's causing us to potentially be making decisions without as full a process as we would like to have. And so, I would like to suggest that we relieve some of that time pressure so that we have we can do a more thorough job here. That's it.
Thanks, Mr. Hopcroft. Ms. Belenese, I don't want to put you on the spot, but
I just had a couple of short comments. I think you had asked Dr. Matthews, or you had 3 points that you wanted to take, that you wanted us to talk about. And I guess with respect to relinquishing care and control and custody of the carriage house, I think at this particular moment, I'm not ready to do that for many of the reasons that have been expressed today, and then also from our discussion from our last meeting. And then I guess also from reading the emails from the Ambrose community, if we are truly including the Ambrose community in the discussion, then I think there does need to be greater input on, or more understanding from the Ambrose community on what is going to be happening on their campus, and more of their opinion on whether or not they support this. I think from like the work that is happening over at Morocco with the walk and roll, or at the Lincoln School with the shade structure, I believe we've heard that there's been support from those communities for those WCCP, for those CPA funds. But I can't say that I've heard the same from the Ambrose community at this point. So if that means that there needs to be more input and more time for that process to take place, then I would just say that. And then in the CPA, or in Ms. Marshall's memo to you, she had talked about the requirements pretty clearly, I thought, for our support. And one of them was supporting the complete application. I also have not had a chance to read the final complete application from the Winchester Historical Society. But I do think as Mr. Belair was saying, that there is more work that needs to be done with this. And I think as it stands, I could not support the complete application at this point, because I guess I'm not really sure if this is just about the roof replacement, which it sounds like. But then that also leads to further questions down the road about the school committee's support of a potentially much larger project. And I don't know if we're there just yet. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Bolanese. Mr. Belair.
Yeah, I want to pull on a thread that Mr. Hopcroft laid out towards the end of his comments around just, continuing to show good faith, and particularly with regards to the potential demolition permit. I think in the same way that after one of the votes we had around the Morocco feasibility study, we had a kind of symbolic vote where we expressed support for the Morocco School project, but we didn't tie that to a specific timeline. I think I would be interested in open to the school committee taking a similar vote with regards to the carriage house to say we support the Save Our Carriage House group's use of private fundraising to support a potential renovation of this project. That way, we're showing good faith and moving forward with a potential solution at the carriage house in line with town meeting's will as expressed this spring. And I think also some advocates from Save Our Carriage House have expressed that, this would be, having support from the school committee is helpful to them from a fundraising perspective to show, hey, this is potentially moving forward, which would give us an opportunity to really see what the legs and community interest and support in this project is from a private perspective. So I think it would be, if we are to vote against granting this care, control, and custody letter to the WCCP, I think we should provide some kind of feedback to Save Our Carriage House around what we might like to see before considering something like this again. And I'd also like to see us potentially think about issuing some kind of support for private fundraising efforts with regards to this project as well.
All right, so we've got Ms. Minyarji, followed by Mr. Hopcroft, followed by Ms. Bolanese.
John, we could add a few amendments to a motion that would include partnership with the school committee and partnership with the Ambrose community and abutters. That we would be supportive of a private effort to save the carriage house in collaboration with the school committee, so that way we sure that the proper process is followed, and abutters and the Ambrose community. That's just one thing. And the second thing, lucky for you guys, I'm both on WCCP and Capital. And next year, there are $13 million worth of historic projects that are in the capital queue that would be eligible for WCCP funds next year alone. $13 million. It's $9 million of it is town hall. So if we want to, put town hall aside, that's still $4 million. That includes the Ambrose playgrounds and Lincoln, the McCall HVAC. We have plenty of historic assets, and I would like to see more WCCP funds used for historic assets. And thankfully, in our town, a lot of our historic assets are also the schools. So that's just something that, just to bring you guys up to speed on what the queue looks like for WCCP and CPC. We don't have $9 million. We don't have $4 million to spend on historic preservation in WCCP. So there's plenty of demand out there for these dollars.
Mr. Hopcroft. Thanks, Ms. Minyarji.
Yeah. So I guess just responding to that first, I think part of the idea of WCCP was to address the projects that don't make it through those other queues. But it's up to WCCP, and Ms. Minyarji is a member of that, and I'm not. So they'll do what they'll prioritize things in the best possible way, I'm sure. So that's fine. I do support. And I appreciate the novel, getting to a common ground here, John, Mr. Belair. I would, I guess, a couple thoughts on it. One is, the notion of supporting, having a vote to support the carriage house organization, I think, I don't think we need to put all the restrictions on it. I think we could just say that we support their efforts to refurbish the carriage house, because by not having a vote, um, in the affirmative on their application, we've already, in that case, shut down the public option. And so I think it's sufficient to say, hey, we're supportive. Our actions show we're not supportive of the funding piece. Um, and I guess on the vote, um, I think a lot of us have raised issues about not having enough information to make a positive determination on the vote. I think a negative determination, though, is without information is also ill-advised. And so I would suggest postponing the vote until we have the information that we need to make an informed decision on that. And I understand that that may throw it out of the timelines for WCCP. So that might, by default, push it into the next cycle, which I think makes it all that much more important that we not be holding holding this time clock, because it's going to force them to have to try to do work during the school year, or it's going to if they're funding for the next cycle, that just pushes it out to the next cycle. And so it's a sort of a de facto um, you know making the project not feasible. But I do like the idea of a support. I mean, I think everyone has said that, hey, if they can do it, this is great. We'd love to support the historic preservation of this building. And so, and there's just been a lot of concerns about how we do it. Will it be done safely? Will we have sufficient oversight? Are they able to get it done, et cetera? And those are all questions that I think maybe a little bit more time could help us answer. On the safety, I'll say that no matter what happens, with care and control or otherwise, I don't think there's a scenario that we would ever do anything that didn't have all of the safety of our students, and the learning environment, baked into anything that was done going forward, no matter who had care and control of the building. And lastly, I guess I'll just say, I know Miss Bolanese had said that she has heard from the different groups around different projects that have come by us, like the shade structure and things like that. But those were originated from those organizations, and so naturally you would hear from them. And this is something that I'm very cognizant of all the emails, and there were a good handful of emails that we received from the Ambrose community, and I'm just weighing that in my head. It's very important. Most of what I read there was safety concerns, which I think are addressable, and then I'm also weighing it with town meeting, which was this is a town asset as well, and so just balancing those two. We must do it in a way that's absolutely safe, and by the way, tearing down the building is going to have a lot of the same issues as well. So we need to work this out in a way that's going to be completely safe. But I'd suggest,
Well,
especially given that we have 12 minutes left, that we postpone this vote on the on supporting for this, and maybe consider Mr. Bellaire's motion.
Do we, Ms. Bolanese, I know Ms. Minyarji, you have something to follow up on as well, but
yeah.
Aaron Satter. So Ms. Bolanese, maybe you can go first.
I was just going to say that with respect to being supportive of private funds for the for WHS's project, I guess I hesitate to provide just like open support right now on. I guess perhaps in with respect to what Mr. Hopcroft was just saying about keeping it a little bit more open. I mean, we could provide support to the Historical Society, but I don't think I would be comfortable with just saying, oh, okay, well, we would be supportive of private funds for whatever happens with the carriage house, because I feel like that's ceding a little bit of our care and control and custody. Perhaps I am misinterpreting that. Okay, I'll just stop there for the moment.
Ms. Minyarji, thanks, Ms. Bolanese. Did you have a comment in response to Mr. Hopcroft?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that demolition would happen over a summer, and there would be notice given to the community and abutters, and then it's gone. It's not a multi-year effort. I would not be supportive of any work to be done on the carriage house during the school year. Full stop. I don't know how the rest of the committee feels about that, but if we're talking about working collaboratively, I think that's where to start.
Ms. Bolanese?
Oh, I'm sorry. I did remember my last comment, and it is that I think also with respect to what Mr. Hopcroft was saying about having a timeline that's forcing things, we did in our capital project prioritization put the carriage house demolition into abeyance. So it's not, that is not part of our capital priorities this year at this point.
Thanks, Mr. Hopcroft. Yeah, I was just going to say, Ms. Minyarji makes a good point, and we do have precedent, however, for working on school renovations at the high school, and I know at Lynch we were talking for a while about building the new school right next to the other school, so there's going to be a fence 12 feet away from it while we built an entire new school, which is certainly more involved than renovating the inside of a building. But that said, we could restrict it to just summer weekends or vacations or whatever it is, but that would make the case even more for lifting the time pressure on this because, I don't know how much time it takes to renovate a building like this. I'd imagine it might take 8 or 12 months or something. And if we're going to do it in 3-month chunks, it's going to be spread out over a longer period of time. Unless we're just saying you can't renovate the building. But certainly those are the sorts of things that we should be talking about. How do we protect the kids? How do we make sure that there isn't noise or trucks or other things that are getting in the way of operations of the school are absolutely legitimate things that need to be worked out.
Thanks, Mr. Hopcroft. So I will just say for my own part, since I haven't, other than framing the discussion, I haven't really been part of it, that what I'm concerned about is this committee tends to spend the largest amounts of time discussing, at least in the 2.5 years since I've been on the committee tends to spend the largest amounts of time discussing our physical plan, our buildings. And one of the reasons why I ran for school committee was to really focus in on curriculum and instruction, what's happening in our classrooms, how our kids are doing from an equity perspective. It is perennially frustrating to me that we end up spending so much time on issues such as this, which I really view as being somewhat peripheral to the mission of the schools. And if you look at our mission statement and our vision statement, there is very little in there about the topic that we've spent so much time discussing today. I think that unfortunately for us, there was a tremendous weight to the sort of way this has unfolded over the past 25 years. There definitely have been prior school committees. Just a reminder that 3 of the 5 of us have been on the committee for less than 2.5 years. I believe that Karen is our longest serving member at this point, and I believe she's only 7 years into her term, which means that when what I would characterize as bad decisions were made around the carriage house, none of us were serving on the school committee. So one of my perennial frustrations about this is that we seem to be getting blamed for decisions that were made long before any of us were on the committee, as if the school committee is some kind of, sort of entity that continues to exist in the same form as it is, rather than being 5 disparate individuals who get elected to the committee at any time based on the votes of the community. So I really resist the idea that, we are responsible for any decisions that any prior school committee has made. I think we are doing the best we can as 5 individuals currently elected to represent the town to make a decision on this topic that is the right one for the community at this time. To Mr. Hopcroft's point, we have a divergence of opinion in the community, and I would say it's a fairly vehement one. We've got folks who very much want to save this historic structure, even though it, because of decisions of the community in terms of what it's been willing to fund. And that goes to town meeting, right? Because as I've said before, town meeting, I don't think speaks with one voice and does not clearly tell us what it wants. It often tells us what it doesn't want, but it doesn't tell us what it actually does want. And in the past 5 years, town meeting has both told us they did not want, and I will confess to being one of the people who voted against it, a $6 to $7 million project to put central office in the carriage house. It has also told us it doesn't support demolishing. I'm not necessarily sure those two things are 100% dispositive. I think if we ask town meeting a different kind of question, we might get another contradictory answer, because that's just the nature of a 192-person representative body. So I hesitate to take any real meeting beyond the specific vote that the town meeting takes. But I think more broadly, one of the things I've been thinking about on this particular subject is that the school committee, I think, is really hung up on the process around this. At least that's my number one concern, and I've heard that concern from a number of other members as well. We've received 3 different versions of the proposal from Save Our Carriage House just in the past few weeks. Those 3 proposals are, in some cases, materially different from one another, which really lends credence to Mr. Bellaire's point about the fact that I think we're all trying to do the right thing, but we also need to make sure that the process is followed. The standards that the WCCP holds us to for a care and control letter are adhered to. And, most importantly, that we're doing this in a way that is mindful of the needs of the students in our care on that particular property and community. My view on this is that we are this proposal is falling short in doing something that we expect of all of our other larger scale projects when it comes to reconstructing buildings, which is to have a plan. Normally, and I think about what we just actually did in terms of our prioritization of our capital queue, we would first ask for funding for a larger scale plan to understand the scope of and the cost of doing work. And that's the thing that actually is the gateway that empowers us to get to the next step. And so one of the challenges with this is that we don't actually know 3 big things. One of them is, how much is a project in 2026, not in 2021 or 22, which is the last time we looked at this, nor in the past, right? What does the scope, monetary and project plan wise, of a project look like for restoring the building, right? Not just stabilizing the roof, but restoring the building, right? Because one of the things I think town meeting, to the point about town meeting, needs to know is, what is the total cost of actually doing something about this building, right? I suspect it's close to, even in a basic stage, given the inflation and construction costs, it's closer to what we originally would have spent to turn it into central office in 2021, 22, than it is to, sort of $2 or $3 million, which is what I think we've been hearing. And what does that look like, right? If we maintain care and control, which is what I hear the school committee saying today, then that means that all the different municipal procurement decisions need to be made in view of the fact that it's a town building, which means that the contractors have to be in compliance with Massachusetts law around procurement, unionized. They need to actually have query checks. They need to have, the ability to do things, given the different award, there are bonuses given to certain contractors owned by certain kinds of owners. And that, sort of competitive municipal procurement process, I think necessarily makes things a little bit more complicated. So I just have a lot of questions still. And I worry because we're approaching, the August deadline where the WCCP will actually meet to consider these things. And it feels like I'm not 100% convinced that we're going to get there in the next 2 weeks. And that's where my concern is. And so I will just, in summary, say I very much support what Mr. Belair was saying. I think what he's trying to do is propose a path forward here, which, does not close off the prospect that something may be able to happen here. But it also makes clear that, the committee does not view that it's going to actually be able to get to where it would need to get to from a comfort level in the next 2 weeks. And Mr. Belair, forgive me if I didn't interpret what you were saying correctly, but that I think is what I heard you saying is we got 2 weeks to actually get to the decision point with WCCP. We have to meet the standards in Ms. Marshall's letter, whether or not we agree with it. That's the current thinking of the WCCP, and they've shared that with both the select board and us now, and we've both kind of struggled with that and that higher level of scrutiny and standard and what that means. And I just don't know that we can get there in the next 2 weeks. I see Mr. Hopcroft and Mr. Belair. If Mr. Belair, you need to respond to anything I just said and correct the record, I'm happy to take you first.
No, I don't have anything to correct what you said, but I would like to propose a motion if the chair would entertain it at this time.
I would. I just want to make sure, Mr. Hopcroft, are you okay? If we do take a motion, are you okay with providing your comment as a part of discussion for the motion?
It was more in response to your comment, but
okay, then go ahead, then, Mr. Belair. If you can just hold the motion for a second, let's let
yeah,
Mr. Hopcroft.
I'll try to be quick. One, just I wanted to say on the curriculum versus facilities, that facilities are really important because they allow our students to engage in learning, whether they're ADA compliant, whether they have AC, whether they're modern, et cetera. Just as a general comment there. I don't think, having been on the committee for 5 years, I don't think we've actually spent that much time on the carriage house over that broader time span. We have spent some in the last year, but not so much over that period. You pointed out the town meeting was opposed to the $6 or $7 million for central office, but they also were opposed to demolishing it. And what I see there is that town meeting was really, town meeting historically hasn't been hugely supportive of central office. We don't have the staff we need in central office. And so they're like, why the heck do we need this beautiful facility for central office? I think that vote was, we don't want to spend this much money on central office, not we don't want to spend this money on the carriage house, is how I interpreted that. I agree with we want to do the right thing here. But if we do the wrong thing, it's irreversible. And so that's one of my concerns on that. And certainly we would want to comply with the appropriate building standards and things. I agree that I'm a little bit skeptical that we'll reach consensus, certainly, regarding this in the next 2 weeks. And I do support Mr. Belair's path to support the work that the Carriage House Group is doing. If we can't get there, and if we aren't able to get to a point where we can take a vote on supporting this letter, in my view, that's better than taking a vote that is ill-informed. Let's say. Those are my points. Hopefully that was quick.
Thank you, Mr. Hopcroft. Mr. Belair.
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion that the Winchester School Committee directs the school committee chair to draft a letter to Save Our Carriage House, denying the request for a CCC letter for the WCCP application for the carriage house roof project. Provides feed. So the letter is going to do 3 things. The first is to deny the CCC letter. The second is to provide feedback on the WCCP proposal. And the third is to express our commitment to ongoing engagement and partnership among Save Our Carriage House, the Ambrose community, and the surrounding neighborhood.
Thanks, Mr. Belair. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion? So the motion was by Mr. Belair, seconded by Ms. Minyarji for the purposes of our minutes record keeper.
Yeah.
Mr. Hopcroft.
Yeah, I'd just like to make an amendment that the letter say that we weren't able to reach consensus on that. I mean, denying it suggests that we're all opposed to it. I think the issue is we don't have the information to make the informed decision.
But could the chair make a friendly amendment to Mr. Belair's motion? I would like to change the word deny to the phrase decline to give.
Yeah, I'll accept Dr. Matthews' motion. I think, Mr. Hopcroft, to your point, I think maybe in the letter we can express the vote that we're about to take with regards to this letter, but I think the vote we take will determine whether or not we support what's contained and included in the motion.
I think decline to give makes it better. Could you just repeat the rest of the
yeah, I'll read
and the vote is going to be on our voting to have the chair send this letter.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And yeah, if you could just so decline to, if you could just repeat all 3, it would be great.
Yeah. So the school committee direct the school committee chair to draft a letter to Save Our Carriage House that does 3 things. Number one, what was the language, Dr. Matthews, that you wanted?
That we decline to give.
That we decline to give a CCC letter to accompany the carriage house roof project submitted by Save Our Carriage House. 2, that we provide feedback on the submitted WCCP proposal. And 3, that we express our commitment to ongoing engagement and partnership among Save Our Carriage House, the Ambrose community, and the surrounding neighborhood.
Any other discussion, or are we ready for the vote on this one?
Yeah. So I'm wondering if there's any way to say that we're supportive of this of the effort to preserve the carriage house, because all this is really saying is that we're not giving them the main thing they want. We're going to provide feedback, which might be just like why we don't think that you should do this. And we're committing to have conversations. I mean, is there any consensus amongst the committee that we think that the work they're doing is worthwhile and noble and supported by town meeting or supported by this group, that if they're able to do this, is there a way to work in that concept in any way, Mr. Belair?
Mr. Belair first, and then Ms. Bolanese.
Yeah, Tom, that's great. Or Mr. Hopcroft, that's great feedback. Thank you. I think maybe I would change that third bullet to be express our commitment to ongoing engagement and partnership among Save Our Carriage House, the Ambrose community, and the surrounding neighborhood to develop a path forward for the carriage house.
That's better. Thank you.
And I will just add quickly to Mr. Belair, I don't know if there's a way to incorporate this, but I think we can say to Mr. Hopcroft's point that we're willing to explore whether the carriage house can be preserved. I don't know if that I'll let you noodle on that while we let Ms. Bolanese comment.
I was going to suggest a hybrid of that.
Okay, good.
So, because I don't think that we've completely reached a consensus, Mr. Hopcroft, on if we're going forward or not. So I even feel that just saying, my suggestion is that for that third part of the bullet point, the ongoing partnership among the Ambrose community, the Winchester Historical Society, the school committee, and the abutting, I believe it was the abutting neighborhoods, to explore. I think this is a hybrid of what 2 of you were saying, to explore a path for the carriage house.
Mr. Hopcroft.
Yeah, I feel like Mr. Belair's to develop a path forward. I mean, it's a conversation we're having to try to do that. So I think it's implicit that, if we're not able to, and a path forward, by the way, could be, whatever a path forward is. I wonder, so 2 things. One is I wonder, it's important to have Ambrose and the abutters there, but we're also starting to lose the community wide voice. And so I wonder also if there isn't if we shouldn't have some broader stakeholder input from other people in town, from town meeting, maybe the town meeting member association or something. But I prefer, all we're talking about doing is, I believe, and I don't have all the words written down here, but expressing our support for trying to develop an inclusive process to develop a path forward. So I worry that and I don't think I actually caught the wrote down the actual words that you said, Ms. Bolanese, but I felt like it was just to explore it. And I kind of feel like we're past exploring it, because we've had this at town meeting, we've had this at several meetings that we've been exploring it, but now it's like, let's turn this into, is there a viable path forward? Because that's really what everyone is, what all this turns on, I think.
Ms. Bolanese.
Or maybe, sorry, I guess I left my hand up. Or maybe it's just how Mr. Belair was describing it in the first place, that it's just an ongoing partnership between these parts of the community, because I think that implies that the discussion is ongoing. And whatever decision comes out of that, then that is the decision, but it's not. It's just promoting the discussion.
Mr. Hopcroft, your hand is up.
Yeah, so I don't want to nitpick too much here, but I'm sort of thinking of an activity metric versus an outcome metric, and that just having a bunch of talk, doesn't move the ball forward, and so I kind of want to move towards, let's talk about, I mean, to me, the elephant in the room is there a viable path forward that meets all of our criteria to save this thing or not? And that's, I think the thing that I believe most people support, most people who haven't already decided that the building should just be torn down. I think support, like, there's an open question, of whether this can work, whether we can meet the needs of the school community, the neighborhood community, the historic society, the broader town community, the financing environment, the building environment, various codes and things like that, the safety, et cetera. There's a bunch of stuff that needs to be worked out, and I kind of want to focus more on developing that plan and developing it in an inclusive way. I think makes a lot of sense.
Mr. Belair, do we have a motion on the table? Do we have sort of language that we're willing to say? I'm mindful of the fact that we're at 11:10. I know people had hard stops. So I'd like to take a vote if we can. Ms. Minyarji, I see you
We
right
have a motion and a second.
Yep.
Do
No,
we
I
need
just
to amend that motion, or?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of, and then I'd like to take a vote if we can.
Would you like me to read it?
Please read where we're at right now.
Okay. I make a motion that the Winchester School Committee direct the school committee chair to deliver a letter to Save Our Carriage House that, number one, declines to provide a CCC letter for the Carriage House Roof Restoration WCCP application. Two, provides feedback on the WCCP application for the Carriage House Roof Restoration. And three, expresses our commitment to ongoing engagement and partnership among Save Our Carriage House, the Winchester School Committee, the Ambrose community, the surrounding neighborhoods, and the broader Winchester public to develop a path forward for the Sanborn Carriage House.
Ms. Minyarji, are you still comfortable with seconding the revised language?
Yes. Can I propose another amendment for the letter to also be sent to WCCP, the WCCP chair, Christina Marshall?
Yes.
Do you accept that, Mr. Belair?
I do.
All right. So is everybody aware of and fully understanding the motion that we are taking a vote on? All right. In that case, I will ask at my own peril, is there further discussion?
I'm just going to acknowledge that this means that they're not going to be able to get the $200,000 they need to do the roof repair right now through this avenue.
All right. Is everybody comfortable voting at this time? With that, not hearing any objection, I will ask, we need to move to a roll call vote. So I'll ask Mr. Belair to start.
Aye.
Mr. Hopcroft?
Aye.
Ms. Bolanese?
Aye.
Ms. Minyarji?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So that is a 5-0 unanimous vote. And I have been directed to draft that letter. So I will do so in the next 24 to 48 hours and get that out to the applicable parties.
Yeah. And just to be clear, it's not that I don't support moving forward. It's that we don't have the information at this time to be able to make the informed decision.
Thanks. I appreciate that. All right. Let me I know we're at 11:13. Mr. Marin, if you could pull the agenda back up, that would be great. I believe that we're going to discuss our summer meeting schedule and workshop. So I will just quickly say, so that we can move to the end, that we have a date for a workshop meeting next week. And I would like to make sure that everybody, I will send out a message right afterwards, making sure that everybody holds that time, but it's a time that at least all 5 of us can be there for 2 hours and 45 minutes. Mr. Belair, I see you have your hand raised. Is that regarding this?
I just wanted to ask if we're going to discuss the other WCCP applications that were included in the binder, if we're going to table that for a future meeting.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. With all that discussion, I actually forgot that we need to do that. I want to make sure that the walk and roll application, I know that we it feels like, because of the fact that it was collaborative through Mr. Marin and done as a letter to the school committee from a PTO, it feels like the vote that we actually took on the Lincoln school shade structure was actually sufficient to meet the requirements in Ms. Marshall's letter. And so maybe we should just take 2 more votes to be extra sure, so that everybody fully understands that what we're doing for those 2 applications is to rise to the level that Ms. Marshall had in her letter, in her memo rather, to the committee. So does anyone feel differently about that? I just want to be 100% sure that we meet the correct standard, especially for the walk and roll application, though I do think we're already there on Lincoln School. All right, I don't see any discussion. So would somebody be willing to make a motion? Ms. Minyarji, I know you were the one that did the walk and roll primarily. And also, I believe you were somewhat involved in the PTO application from Lincoln. So
Yeah. So do you want 2 separate motions?
I would like that so that we can just take
Okay.
the vote and make sure that we have that on record for the WCCP.
Yeah. So I move to support the walk and roll WCCP application as presented as it pertains to the Morocco property.
Is there a second? All right, thank you. Motion by Ms. Minyarji, seconded by Ms. Bolanese. Let's take a roll call vote. Mr. Belair.
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, sorry, discussion.
Yes.
So for number 4, the steel bollard removal and barrel purchase, I'm a little bit confused on what that's doing. If it's removing steel bollards and putting in just a different type of barricade there, if anyone on the call has more information related to what exactly that's doing, I wasn't able to figure out what was being referred to by barrels similar to those on the Minuteman bike path.
I believe Ms. Minyarji actually had an email from the Morocco community regarding that, but I'm mindful of time. I don't know how folks are doing on time, but we do actually have a meeting next week as well, which would be in advance of the deadline. So if we want to close out that question with the applicant as well as with the Morocco PTO, I'm happy to do that in the next week if it makes things easier.
We can vote if someone has the answer on the call, I would appreciate that. But if not, I don't want to.
I believe it was concerning, and I will have to confirm this with the applicants and with MESPA, but it's for 2 things: for snow removal and ADA compliance, I believe. But again, they are the experts on that. But that's the way it was presented to me.
All right, I'm ready to vote.
Anybody else discussion? All right, Mr. Belair.
Aye.
Mr. Hopcroft.
Aye.
Ms. Bolanese.
Aye.
Ms. Minyarji.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, so that's 5-0. Ms. Minyarji, I will entertain a second motion regarding the Lincoln School PTO shade structure proposal.
Yes, I move for the Winchester School Committee to support the Lincoln LSPA WCCP application for the playground solar shades as presented.
Second.
Ms. Minyarji made the motion, second by Ms. Bolanese. Is there any discussion? All right, take a vote. Mr. Belair.
Aye.
Mr. Hopcroft.
Aye.
Ms. Bolanese.
Aye.
Ms. Minyarji.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, so we're 5-0 on that one as well. So I will make sure to forward that along to the chair of the WCCP for both of those projects. Thanks, Mr. Belair, for flagging that for me after all the discussion. I was about to just move on. All right, so our summer meeting schedule and workshop, as I said, we have a date for next week. Please hold that in your calendars until I officially send that out in the next few minutes. But we're going to have to work on a date in August, mindful of the fact that many of us are on vacation, and those vacations are overlapping at times that are not terribly helpful for scheduling a meeting. So we will try to figure that out in the next few days as well. So just look for another potential way to get a meeting on the books for that. And I anticipate that meeting will be largely focused on, so we'll have, I know that Dr. Hackett, I've spoken to him, we have an executive session that we need to do, as well as we will try to do some strategic planning. regarding our mission and vision for the year ahead, and I'll provide more details in the packet in advance of next week's meeting. Dr. Hackett, I don't know where we're at on this executive session. I know that we're already 19 minutes over our time, so I don't know if it's something we could table to next week's executive session or whether
that's fine, Dr. Matthews.
Okay, all right. In that case, I would like to table that to next week, and we'll include that in the executive session materials for that as well. So with that, unless there's anything else, I'm happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
So
adjourn.
moved. Second.
All right. So on a motion from Ms. Bolanese, seconded by Mr. Hopcroft, we'll take a roll call vote on adjourning. Mr. Belair?
Aye.
Mr. Hopcroft?
Aye.
Ms. Bolanese?
Aye.
Ms. Binyarji?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So we are adjourned at 11:19 a.m. with thanks to WinCam, obviously to Dr. Paisner-Rothman, our newly appointed Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education, our committee members, our community members for all of their feedback and bearing with us during the difficult process. And I hope everybody has a good rest of the day.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Okay.